that I can converse with in the world about this stuff. So it gets pretty lonely and desolate. And then you sort of look back in hindsight, and you look back at society and the world, and you start to see the effects of basically the destruction, and how everyday people that don't have the knowledge are being taken advantage of and scammed and used by the banks. And there's homeless people, and there's people with mortgages, and there's people that are foreclosed, that are having their houses foreclosed on because they can't afford to pay. And you see sort of all this destruction of the credit system and the bank system and the finance system, and you see all these everyday people basically being churned up by this beast that we're dealing with, right? Be it, all kinds of things that have happened in the last 3 years, right? So you see all this sort of pain and heartache in the world, and then you kind of go, well, somebody has to do something, right? So I don't know if there's any other truth seekers out there where you sort of reach a point where you go, I know this and that, and people need to know. People need this knowledge, because knowledge is power. And people need to realize what's happening to them. And people need to sort of wake up to the way the world works, and how they're being used, and what's sort of sapping their life and their labor and their lifeblood, and how they're in a perpetual state of debt, and how they're running this rat race, and how all the life and beauty and joy is being sucked out of them. Because of the constant need to earn, the constant need to pay the bills, the constant, like all this stuff. You look back at friends. First it's friends and family, but then you realize it's the whole broader community that you live with. And you go, man, that's not right. And oh, that's not right. And you just see so many things where you're like, no, but that's not right. And then you reach sort of the third phase, which I believe I'm sort of entering now, where you go, I need to share, and I need to do it, even if people say I'm crazy, or if people belittle me, or if people say you're nuts, or if they just give you a blank stare. It's still your duty. I feel like it's my duty, and it's the duty of all of the researchers that have been pushing the truth movement forward, and bringing in the awakening, and trying to make people sort of reconnect to nature, and reconnect with diet, and reconnect to living foods, and on so many different sort of veins of this movement we're in. At least for me, I'm telling my story, right? I've gotten to a point where it's like, oh, it's my duty to try to teach and train and give this information to everyday people that are being exploited. They're being taken advantage of, and they've got families, they've got children, they've got, you know what I mean, and they're being exploited, and you realize it's your duty to do that. I don't know if there's anybody else out there that feels the same way. I definitely see other videos of people that I can tell they've reached stage 2 and stage 3, where they've stopped caring about what people say. They know the truth, and they know the only thing that can really set people free is the truth. So they've decided to basically be a lighthouse and just start throwing that truth out there. And I follow a lot of those channels myself. But I was just gonna say that's basically the pilgrimage of the truth seeker. He basically, what I described, he starts off, he's excited, he finds some truth, and he stumbles across more, he tries to share it, he gets kicked back. The reason I'm sharing this is if you're watching truth seeker stuff and you're sort of like, oh, this guy's a bit of an idiot, I'm just gonna belittle what he's saying, or this is some crackpot internet researcher, YouTube video guru, he doesn't really know. Maybe some of them are doing that, maybe some of them don't know, but there's also I believe there's a large group of people that are out there that have checked and double checked, and they know they're not crazy, and they've they've gone through sort of trials and tribulations to the point where they're ready to share something they've found or something they've learned, such as myself, right? And so I would just caution anybody out there to also not belittle those people, because some of them have been through sort of trials and tribulations of their own journey of learning, and they've gotten to the point where they feel called to share a fundamental truth that seems so true and so real to them. They know it's not a facade, or they know it's not, some trickery or some scam. Like I know for a fact that 1 + 1 = 2. So if I go in and I explain how something works, I've analyzed it and I've reanalyzed it and I've gotten second opinions on it, and I've broken it down to a point where I know, okay, that's that, and that can't lie, and that can't lie, and I know 1 is 1, and I know an additional 1 is another 1, so I know 1 + 1 = 2. So it breaks down in a logical way to me. That's why I'm sharing it. Do you see what I mean? So if it seems crazy or nuts to you, I understand that, but also relate to the fact that I wouldn't be sharing it. I wouldn't be putting information out on the internet unless I was super confident and super sure, which is like the story of the truth seeker that tries to give some knowledge, gets belittled, goes, oh, maybe I am off on this, goes back, researches it again, spends another 3-4 years going super deep down rabbit holes until he reaches a point where he goes, I know this works, I know that's the solution, I know this is what people need to know, I know this is how they're being deceived, I know this is how they're being manipulated. But then you get to a point where the onus is on me, the onus is on you as the truth seeker to try to share. So don't always go with the first thing that comes to your mind when you see somebody sharing knowledge or truth that's a little bit, it's borderline, or it's a little bit brinking on the brink of conspiracy theory, or a little bit not mainstream, because he's been fighting up the stream to get that non-mainstream information. You see my point there? So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. I hope you all are learning and growing and being in the moment. That's what I'm learning. I got a big thunderstorm here, so we're all hunkered in. Wish you all very, very, very wonderful days ahead. See ya.